Every weekday morning, I board the 6:42 train to the city. It's a journey I've made countless times, yet each day unfolds a little differently. It's a routine, but not one that feels completely predictable. I've grown used to the early hours, the grogginess that lingers as I wait on the platform, the cool breeze brushing my face as the train rolls in right on time. I always sit in the third car from the front, by the window. There's something comforting about the consistency of it, like my seat is waiting for me each morning. I pull out my book, or sometimes just stare out the window, watching the same scenes pass by, yet noticing something new every now and then. The scent of stale coffee lingers in the air, mixing with the slight tang of newsprint, as commuters shuffle in, taking their usual seats, their faces buried in phones or newspapers. The 6:42 is always filled with the same types of people, those who are used to this morning routine. They know how to navigate the train like they've been doing it forever. The businessman with his briefcase, the young woman with her headphones who listens to music so loudly I can almost hear the beat, the elderly man who reads his novel with the thick glasses perched on his nose. We're all part of this moving machine, playing our roles without a second thought. As we pull out of the station, I turn to the window. I've always loved watching the world wake up. The sky begins to brighten, the sun peeks over the horizon, and everything starts to glow in shades of pink, orange, and yellow. We pass through sleepy suburbs, their streets quiet and peaceful, the houses still dark except for the occasional early riser. Slowly, the lights in windows flick on one by one as people start their day, making their coffee or stepping into the shower. For a while, the train rumbles on in silence. The only sounds come from the quiet hum of conversation, the soft rustling of newspapers, and the low buzz of phones vibrating with emails and texts. There's comfort in the routine, in knowing what comes next. I know the stops by heart, the names of the stations, and even the way the train feels when it slows down and speeds up. But there's also a gnawing restlessness that's harder to shake off. As much as I've grown accustomed to the routine, part of me feels trapped by it. Sometimes I can't help but wonder what would happen if I didn't follow the script. What if one day I didn't get off at my stop? What if I stayed on the train until the end of the line, just kept riding and riding beyond where I'm supposed to go? Where would I end up? It's a silly thought, I know, but it's one that comes back to me almost every morning. I glance around the car and see the same faces, each one wrapped up in their own world. There's the teenager sitting a few seats down, nervously rehearsing a presentation under her breath, her lips moving, but no sound escaping. I see her most mornings, always with the same worried expression. Her backpack is too heavy for her small frame, and she fidgets constantly, like she's carrying more than just books. Then there's the elderly man, sitting directly across from me. He's always on this train, dressed in a neatly pressed suit despite his age. He carries a thermos of tea with him, which he sips slowly as he works on his crossword puzzle. I've never spoken to him, but I feel like I know him. He has an air of quiet contentment, as if this train ride is his favorite part of the day. The woman in the sharp suit sits diagonally across from me. Every morning, she takes out her small makeup mirror and applies her lipstick just before we reach the city. Her movements are precise, practiced, like she's done this 1,000 times. She doesn't seem to notice anyone else around her, completely focused on preparing herself for the day ahead. I wonder what her job is, what kind of office she walks into each morning. We are all part of this little world on wheels, this moving microcosm. It's strange to think that we spend so much time together day after day without ever really knowing each other. I know their faces, their habits, their routines, but I don't know their stories. It's a thought that stays with me sometimes. How close we are, yet how far apart. The train moves steadily forward, the stations passing by in a blur. As we get closer to the city, more people board, filling the seats and crowding the aisles. The car becomes noisier, more alive, as conversations pick up and the hustle of the day begins. I should be getting ready to gather my things, to prepare for my stop, but today something feels different. That restless feeling is stronger than usual. As we near my station, I feel the familiar tug of routine, the pull to gather my bag and step off the train like I always do. But then there's the other pull, the whisper of adventure, the thought of staying on the train and seeing where it takes me. The idea lingers in my mind longer than usual. What would it be like to just not get off, to ride the 642 to nowhere, to follow the tracks until the end? I glance out the window again as we approach my stop. The city is waking up now, its streets busy with cars and people rushing to work. The familiar buildings come into view, the same landmarks I pass every day. But instead of feeling comforted by the familiarity, I feel trapped by it. The train slows down, the brakes squealing softly as we pull into the station. People around me start to stand up, grabbing their bags and coats, ready to step off and head into their day. I watch them, my mind racing. Should I do it? Should I stay on the train? It's such a simple decision, but in this moment, it feels monumental. My fingers tighten around the strap of my bag, my heart pounding just a little faster. I know I should stand up, follow the others off the train. But something holds me back. What's the harm in staying on just a little longer? What if today is the day I finally listen to that voice in my head, the one that's been quietly urging me to break free from the routine? The doors slide open, and for a second, I hesitate. The passengers file out, and I remain seated, frozen in place. I can still get off, still follow my usual path. But as the seconds tick by, I feel a shift inside me. I let go of my bag, relax my grip, and lean back in my seat. The train doors close with a quiet hiss, and suddenly, we're moving again. I stayed on. I'm riding the 642 to nowhere. The train pulls out of the station, and I feel a rush of excitement and nervousness. I have no idea where this train is going, no idea what lies at the end of the line, but for the first time in a long time, I feel free. I watch as the city fades away behind me, the familiar landscape replaced by something new. The other passengers seem unaware of my small rebellion, lost in their own thoughts and routines. But for me, this moment feels huge, like I've finally broken out of the box I've been living in. I don't know what's next, but for now that doesn't matter. The world outside the window changes as we move farther from the city. The buildings become fewer, the roads quieter. We pass through small towns, their stations empty, their streets quiet. I've never been out this far before, and each new sight feels like a discovery. I'm not sure where the end of the line is, but for once I'm not thinking about what comes next. I'm just enjoying the ride, letting the train take me wherever it will. The restlessness that usually gnaws at me has faded, replaced by a sense of peace. As the train moves forward, the view from the window changes. Suburbs become farmland, and the houses grow farther apart. The trees grow taller, casting long shadows over the tracks. I look around at the other passengers, wondering if they know where they're going, or if they've ever thought about staying on past their usual stop. Do they ever imagine what lies beyond the city,